Championship finals in the era of the greatest player that's ever thrown a dart. And that was a problem. Talk to me about Phil Taylor.
He's walking back and he's clicking his darts, he's talking as he's coming past your shoulder. See, people wouldn't know all this, and I'm thinking, do you know what? When he wins this, I'm just going to walk straight off.
He refused to shake the greatest player's hand in front of millions. He made a 20-year-old walk off stage in fury, and his own best man called him a cheat in a published book. Peter won dart. Manley didn't just play darts. He declared war every time he stepped on stage. These are the 5 moments that made him the most hated man in darts history. Before Peter Manley became the villain, he was the giant killer. The year was 1999, and the world match play in Blackpool was heating up. In the semi-finals, Manley faced Phil Taylor, the most dominant force the sport had ever seen. Nobody gave him a chance. Taylor was the heavy favourite, the defending world champion, the man who crushed dreams for breakfast. But something happened that night at the Winter Gardens that nobody expected. Manley came out firing like his life depended on it. He raced to an 8-2 lead, hitting doubles with ice in his veins. The crowd couldn't believe what they were witnessing. Was this really happening? Was someone actually dismantling the power? Taylor wasn't done. He clawed his way back, leg by leg, set by set, until the score stood at 14-14. The momentum had shifted. The pressure was suffocating. This was Taylor's moment to complete the comeback and remind everyone why he was called the Power. Except Manley refused to fold. He dug deep and won the next 3 legs in succession. The final score read 17-14. Peter Manley had just beaten Phil Taylor in a televised semi-final, one of only 2 times he'd ever manage it. The victory sent shockwaves through the darting world. For one glorious night, Manley looked unstoppable. He went on to face Rod Harrington in the final, where he came agonizingly close to throwing the first ever televised 9-dart finish in PDC history. In the 30th leg, trailing 16-13, Manley hit 180, then 177, then treble 18 and tops. All he needed was the bullseye for 144. He missed by millimeters. The moment slipped away, and so did the title. Harrington won 1917. But that semi-final victory over Taylor planted a seed. Manley had proven he could beat the best, and more importantly, he'd learned that getting into Taylor's head was just as effective as hitting trebles. It was a lesson he'd use again and again. The villain was born that night in Blackpool, even if nobody knew it yet. December 2002, the Circus Tavern, the PDC World Championship Final. Peter Manley had fought his way through the draw to face Phil Taylor once more, this time for the ultimate prize. 3 years after their Blackpool battle, this was Manley's chance at redemption. This was his moment to become world champion. It lasted exactly 7 sets. Taylor demolished him 7-0. A complete whitewash. Not a single set, not even close. Manley was humiliated on the biggest stage in darts, and millions watched it happen. The scoreline was brutal, but what came next made history for all the wrong reasons. As Taylor hit the winning double, he celebrated with his usual intensity. He turned toward Manley, hand extended for the traditional post-match handshake. But Manley was already walking, straight off the stage. No handshake, no congratulations, no acknowledgement whatsoever. The crowd gasped. Commentators didn't know what to say. This wasn't just poor sportsmanship. This was a statement. Manley later claimed he desperately needed to use the toilet and couldn't wait. Few believed him. In subsequent interviews, he admitted the real reason. During their 1999 final, Taylor had used gamesmanship against him, doing what Manley called naughty things on stage. Manley had prepared himself to walk off regardless of the result. The fallout was immediate and severe. For the next 3 years, Peter Manley was booed at every single tournament. Walk-on, music, entrance, exit, it didn't matter. The crowds despised him. He tried changing his entrance song from Chumbawamba's Tub Thumping to Tony Christie's Is This the Way to Amarillo in 2005, hoping the upbeat tune would shift the mood. It helped slightly, but the boos continued. The personal cost was even higher. When Manley got married, Phil Taylor didn't respond to his wedding invitation. The handshake refusal had cut deep. Taylor took it personally, and their relationship fractured. Years later, Taylor admitted in interviews that the incident bothered him more than he let on. The rivalry was no longer just competitive, it was personal, bitter, and unresolved. The 2006 World Championship at the Circus Tavern marked Peter Manley's full transformation into darts' pantomime villain. He'd embraced the booze, he'd learned to weaponize the crowd's hatred, and in an early round match against Dennis Smith, he tested just how far he could push the boundaries. Smith was waiting on stage. The referee was ready. The crowd was settled, but Manley, backstage, deliberately taking his time. When he finally emerged, he wasn't wearing his usual shirt. He walked to the stage, acknowledged the crowd, and then did something bizarre. He changed his shirt right there, swapping into his lucky pink flamingo shirt. The delay was deliberate. Smith's rhythm was broken before a dart was thrown. Accusations of gamesmanship surfaced immediately. Manley had spent years studying Taylor's psychological warfare. Now he was using every trick in the book. The flamingo shirt became his trademark weapon. Lucky? Maybe, but mostly a distraction, a reminder that Manley played by his own rules, and it worked. Smith couldn't settle. Manley controlled the tempo from start to finish. When Smith sped up, Manley slowed down. When Smith slowed down, Manley sped up. A masterclass in non-cheating chaos. Manley won comfortably, but this was only a warm-up, because waiting in the draw was a 20-year-old protege of Phil Taylor, and Manley was about to push his gamesmanship further than anyone had ever seen. Quarterfinals, 2006 World Championship, Peter Manley versus Adrian Lewis. On paper, routine match. Manley experienced 5th seed. Lewis, 20 years old, talented but raw. But this became the single most controversial match of Manley's career. From the opening leg, the mind games begin. Manley slowed the tempo dramatically, paused after misses, muttered behind Lewis as he threw. Lewis snapped, turning around and accusing him of talking during his throw. Manley denied it. The argument devolved into what Manley later described as pantomime. You was, you wasn't, you was, you wasn't. Lewis accused him of swearing during his release. He told referee Russ Bray. Tension soared, and then Lewis did something almost unheard of. Trailing 3-1, furious, he walked off the stage. Chaos erupted. Backstage, Bray calmed him down, and Lewis returned. But the psychological damage was done. Lewis tried fighting back, making it 3-2, but Manley responded with a brilliant 101 checkout, then sealed the match 5-3 with a 106 finish on double top. The aftermath was explosive. Sid Waddell essentially called it cheating on live TV. Fans argued for weeks. Some said Lewis was soft. Some said Manley crossed the line.
View that Manley said something as Adrian was about to let the dart go, and I think that's where, if that's proved, and it's an open question, there will be an inquiry, but if it goes over that way, then it's not gamesmanship, it's cheating.
Ironically, Manley went on to face Taylor in the final and lost 7-0 again. But the Adrian Lewis match became his defining controversy. Proof Manley would do absolutely anything to win. Wayne Mardle, Hawaii 501, beloved, flamboyant, hilarious. And Peter Manley's close friend. Manley was even the best man at his wedding. So when Mardle published his autobiography, nobody expected what came next. In the book, Mardle accused Peter Manley of being a cheat. Not gamesmanship, not bending the rules, cheating. The betrayal cut deeper than any 7-0 defeat. This wasn't an opponent, this was a friend. The darts world was stunned. How do you accuse someone of cheating when he stood beside you on the most important day of your life? Neither man explained the fallout publicly, but the damage was permanent. The irony was sharp. Manley was chairman of the Professional Dart Players Association, tasked with protecting players. Yet here was one of those players, his friend, questioning his integrity. Looking back at Peter Manley's career, the 5 moments tell a complete story. The 1999 victory showed his potential. The 2002 handshake refusal made him hated. The Dennis Smith delay showed his psychological evolution. The Adrian Lewis walk-off became his ultimate controversy. The Wayne Mardle betrayal showed the personal cost of being darts' villain. Manley never won a world championship. He reached 3 finals and lost all 3 to Phil Taylor. But his legacy isn't measured in titles. It's measured in chaos, emotions, and unforgettable moments. Phil Taylor himself later messaged Manley during his heart problems, saying he needed him back because someone had to keep kicking him. The respect was grudging, but real. Peter won dart. Manley proved that in darts, you don't need to be the champion to be unforgettable. Sometimes being the villain is enough.